Welcome to the Wednesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Wednesday morning. Hey, Bird Crochet, how's it going? Howdy. Ooh. Today is the birthday bash throughout this week. Well, mostly this week. These last 3 days. Part 3, the trilogy. It ends today, folks. It ends today. Tomorrow, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming. Hey, Pirate Ninja. I appreciate all of you guys hanging out throughout these last couple of days. Yo. So we have a couple of updates. Our cucumber crops are moving along very good. If you guys check out the Discord, I posted some updates. It's looking really good. Biotech Nick, happy birthday. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. We're just getting prepped for some of the articles we need to go over. How old are you? Yes. Today I am 51. Tomorrow Carlos becomes a Jehovah's Witness, so the birthday bash ends for good. True! That's the reality is that's what's happening. That's what my new calling is, to become a Jehovah's Witness and spread the word of the Lord Jesus Christ. That's what I'm gonna do. Alright, folks, we definitely have a few articles to go through, and maybe some games? Maybe? I don't know. Depends on how we're feeling. Howdy, howdy. Alright, folks, we definitely got some some headlines to go through, so let's get that going. Alright, so in other news in clown world, House GOP blames Pelosi, not Trump, for January 6th. House GOP leaders teed off Nancy Pelosi's Tuesday morning, accusing her of neglecting her duty to defend the Capitol on January 6th and demanding answers about her role in the violent attack that injured more than 140 police officers. So, plot twist, somehow, and this is a new development. Apparently, the House Speaker has the unilateral authority to call in, like, the National Guard, or to have any well, I don't want to say jurisdiction, but any control over Capitol Police. This is completely new developments in politics. It seems now like the House Speaker suddenly has these unilateral powers that I was not aware of, and apparently it's her fault. On January 6th, these brave officers were put into vulnerable and impossible positions because of the leadership at the top failed. Well, yeah, I agree. The leadership at the top failed. However, it's not it's not Speaker Pelosi who's at the top, folks. Who has command of the authority to send in National Guard? House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy told reporters just outside the Capitol. The accusation served as a rebuttal to the House's Select Committee investigations into the attack, which was set to kick off shortly after the Republican press conference without any allies of former President Trump on the panel. Yeah, why would they do that? Why would they do that? Why would they allow, like, Trump allies on the panel? That doesn't make any sense. Yet, in a sign of just how partisan the debate surrounding the insurrection has become, the Republicans offered no critique of the former president, would encourage his supporters to march on the Capitol to block the certification of his election defeat, the spark that inspired the deadly riot. Now, hold on. The Democratic Party did offer a complete, equal 5 Republicans, 5 Democrats, both with the ability to have the same equal subpoena powers, and the Republicans refused it. So don't tell me that this is some kind of partisan thing. They were given the opportunity in a complete split down the middle, 5 and 5, which is weird to me, but whatever. It was a good faith attempt. 5 Republicans, 5 Democrats, both with equal subpoena powers. And they still refused it. So don't tell me that this is some kind of, like, partisan debate. They also did not answer reporters' questions as to why Senator Mitch McConnell, who was Senate Majority Leader on January 6th, should not bear the same responsibility to say Pelosi does for the security lapses. True. Yeah, by that, yeah, that's very true. By that logic, then where was Mitch McConnell? Right? By that logic, where's Mitch McConnell? Well, These people don't have the unilateral authority to do any of that. The Senate Majority Leader or the Speaker of the House do not have control of any type of, like, National Guard, or they're not in charge of, like, the Capitol Police, okay? I think, like, the most that they have is, like, the security detail inside the House and the Senate, the Sergeant at Arms. I think that's about it. Instead, of course, they accused Pelosi at first failing to approve the activation of the National Guard that day. Wait, can the Speaker of the House... Hold on. I'm sorry, but, like, this kind of egregious, like... Let me take a moment here. Before I, like, start talking any type of crap. Does the Speaker of the House have the ability to call the National Guard in DC specifically? Okay, so as I was correct, Nancy Pelosi has no authority to call the National Guard. Under federal law, the President is Commander-in-Chief of the DC Guard. The President authorizes the Secretary of Defense to supervise and control the DC Guard while in its militia status, i.e. not deployed overseas. The Secretary may order the Guard mobilized to aid DC civil authorities, but subject only to the direction of the President. Only the President or his Secretary of Defense may order the DC National Guard. The DC Mayor has not even the DC Mayor has any type of authority, nor does the Speaker of the House, nor does the Senate Majority Leader. So the idea that they're trying to flip this around and say, well, Nancy Pelosi should have been there, is a lie. It is literally a lie. They cannot do that. Jesus Christ. Instead, they accused Pelosi of first failing to approve the activation of the National Guard that day and now seeking to avoid tough questions by refusing to seat two Trump allies, Jim Jordan and Jim Banks, on the Select Committee. Why don't they want to answer the fundamental question, which is why wasn't there better security posture on that day? That is a very good question, Olympic mental gymnast Jim Jordan. Why wasn't there better security posture on that day? Well, if I don't know, maybe he was asleep for these hearings. Maybe he was just asleep for these hearings, just to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he was just asleep for the hours of testimony. If he was aware, or maybe maybe he was just sleeping throughout this hearing. I know the whole January 6th thing is very, very, very stressful for Jim Jordan. But if he had been awake at that time, or present, he would have known that they actually had hours of hearings about this as to why there wasn't a better security posture on that day, and there was an answer to that question, or at least a baseline hypothesis to that question as to why there wasn't a better security posture on that day. And the reason why is because there was a massive failure on a handful of intelligence, a failure to act on intelligence reports of possibilities of things going very south, and a failure to properly communicate those concerns. That's why. Hey, Memmius, are they trying to blame January 6th on Pelosi? Yeah. They're trying to make the argument that Pelosi somehow should have mobilized the National Guard. Somehow. They tried to accuse her of failing to approve the activation of the National Guard, which she doesn't have any authority on that. Yeah, mental gymnast Jim Jordan. Olympic mental gymnast Jim Jordan. So yeah, I mean, again, maybe he was asleep that day. But we had hearings about this, or maybe he just didn't care enough to listen. But yeah, it was a combination of a lot of things, gross incompetence, and worst of all, a lot of like the way the FBI and some other law enforcement reports were done. They weren't properly communicated to the proper authorities, to the proper chain of command through the Capitol Police, so they didn't act on it. That's really, I know it sounds silly, but that's, to my understanding, what those previous hearings were about. So yes, Mr. Jim Jordan, we had hearings about this. Pelosi's office quickly issued a statement pushing back against these charges. The statement noted that the congressional leaders do not oversee the everyday decisions surrounding the Capitol security, the responsibility of the Capitol Police Board, while asserting that the Speaker never denied a request to activate, I guess would be the word. Jesus. What is going on with, like, these writers? Nowadays, okay. Denied a request to activate the National Guard. Now that the bipartisan select committee is beginning to work, the only tools left in House Republicans' arsenal are deflection, distortion, and disinformation. True. That hasn't prevented Republicans from bashing Democrats for a riot orchestrated by Trump supporters, and Pelosi was not the only target of the GOP attacks that Tuesday morning. Now, I don't think the Speaker of the House has any bearing on this. I mean, we just saw what the federal law was regarding the activation of the National Guard. But let's just assume that the final approval has to be, I guess, signed off by the Speaker of the House. Well, who has to issue that initial order? The President or the Secretary of Defense. That's literally the people who control the National Guard in DC. $10 says autocorrect and no proofreading. True. Now that the bipartisan select, yes, okay, great. McCarthy and the Republicans also went after Representative Zoe Lofgren, chairwoman of the House Administration Committee, which has jurisdiction over the workings of the Capitol complex, for staying away from Washington for much of the 2020 due to the COVID pandemic. They blasted. I hate this language. Representative Benny Thompson, the chairman of the Select Committee, for suggesting that Pelosi would not be required to testify before the panel, and they hammered Representatives Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, the two Republican Trump critics appointed by Pelosi to the Select Committee, for characterizing them as Pelosi Republicans. So I guess we're moving away from the whole like rhino nomenclature. Now we're gonna call them Pelosi Republicans. This committee is completely partisan from the top to bottom. Okay. A former sheriff who was among McCarthy's initial picks for the Select Committee. Yeah, sure. You know what would have made it not partisan? You accepting the completely bipartisan offer to begin with. That's all you had to do. That offer was given to you. Wait, you can't complain that all of a sudden there was all of a sudden this is a partisan like investigation or whatnot, when you were offered a complete down the middle bipartisan I don't know, negotiation or bipartisan option where both of you had equal number of folks with equal subpoena power. You don't get to complain. House Republicans sue Nancy Pelosi in federal court over mask fines. 3 House Republicans who were fined for violating the House's mask rules are taking their grievances to federal court. Representative Thomas Matthew of Kentucky, of course, the classic favorites, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Ralph Norman of South Carolina filed a lawsuit against Speaker Pelosi in the U.S. Court of District of Columbia. Mr. Massey said he was fined $500 for not wearing a mask on the floor in May. Said they filed the suit to make a broader point about government overreach during the COVID pandemic. I mean, like, again, this is like a child. This is like a child throwing a tantrum. We're 18 months into it, and we're still trying to use emergency executive power instead of going back to legislatures and passing laws. I wonder, and why exactly, Mr. Massey, are we in the position that we are in? I mean, ask yourself, Mr. Massey, why are we in the position that we're in? Just let's put on our thinking caps for a second and ask ourselves, why are we in the position that we're in? Just take a gander at why we're in the position that we're in. Mr. Massey said, referring to Pelosi and governors who have issued mask mandates, "It's about the principle, but the principle is broader. It's the whole country." I have no idea what that means. The lawmakers filed the suit after Ms. Pelosi denied their appeals, Lamau. The suit also targets House Sergeant-at-Arms William Walker and the Chief Administration Officer Catherine I'm not going to pretend I know how to pronounce that. Going back to legislature and passing laws so they would take as long as the infrastructure bill. I mean, like, first of all, that's also, like, not even true because, like, they are passing laws. They are passing laws. Mr. Massey argues that the fines were unconstitutional because they took funds directly out of the lawmakers' salaries, which he said violated the 27th Amendment. Okay. The 27th Amendment prohibits changes to congressional compensation in the middle of the House's 2-year session, which the lawmakers are serving. The 27th Amendment is, at its heart, anti-corruption measures designed to prevent Congress from increasing or decreasing or limited compensation as a cudgel against political opponents. States the suit reviewed by the Washington Times. Despite this clear and unequivocal prohibition, that is precisely what occurred in this manner. Not really. Not really. You see, there's a very key distinction in that 27th Amendment. It's designed to prevent Congress from increasing or decreasing or limiting compensation as a cudgel against political opponents. Now, to my understanding, the mask mandates on the House rules, on the House floor rules, or within the purview of the House's chamber, applies to everybody. Okay? You can, if a Democratic lawmaker was not wearing a mask and they did not get a fine, now we can make an argument that it is a clear indication that this is only against only one side, right? But to my knowledge, I have not seen that. I have not seen that. Yes, also, furthermore, as Pirate Ninja points out, a fine doesn't change your income. A fine doesn't change your income. Ms. Green said she felt the mandate was hypercritical because Ms. Pelosi was photographed without a mask on the same day the Georgia lawmakers' fine noted that she had violated House rules. It's nothing but a big show. It's not about COVID at all. It's about her having the gavel in her hand and her being able to control everybody on the cameras. Okay, buddy. Ms. Green also told the Times last week that she absolutely believed the rules targeted Republican lawmakers over Democrats. The only reason she believes that is because, well, mostly, generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking, conservative / GOP folks are the ones who are, the ones, well, refusing to cooperate with basic public health. The CDC prevention dropped its mask mandate in May for those who are fully vaccinated against COVID. However, the CDC reversed course on Tuesday, advising vaccinated Americans to wear masks in school and public indoor spaces with high or substantial transmission of the coronavirus, which we will be talking about because, of course, this is going to cause yet another poop storm, I imagine. Otherwise, I should be able to argue that getting a firework ticket for $500 is actually the officer driving me into poverty and not reprimanding me for breaking the law. True. The CDC, yes, Mr. Massey said he has not been vaccinated and as of now doesn't plan to because he believes he has a natural immunity from getting COVID last year. Okay, buddy. Listen, I've been getting into it with, like, a lot of these, like, Twitter folks, and no, this is not how that works. Although natural immunity is a thing, there is a significant difference between having a immunity from a vaccine and natural immunity. For one, natural immunity doesn't seem to last nearly as long as a immunity from the vaccine, specifically within the context of COVID. And furthermore, although natural immunity may offer protection from certain variants, it does not offer the same broad protection that a vaccine would. As of right now, the vaccine offers a very substantial protection. As of right now, as of the data we know right now, a substantial protection against, so far, all the variants that we know of right now, as far as I know. And it lasts longer. As we do more tests and as we do more studies, we are finding out that immunity from vaccines actually lasted way longer than we had originally predicted, and up into past, at the very least, originally we thought it would last about 6 months, maybe more. Now we're realizing that immunity can last over a year, maybe even longer, versus natural immunity seems to last like anywhere from 4 to 6 ish months, depending. Ms. Pelosi's office did not respond for the Washington Times request for comments. The lawmakers being represented by attorney. Okay, I don't care. Don't care. Yeah, so TLDR, like, they're very big mad that they're being forced to, like, if, you know, the adult thing would have been to just, like, respect, like, CDC guidelines and avoid this altogether. Right? I think everyone breathed a sign of relief in 2021 when the COVID pandemic subsided. Kind of. But it's just because, like, we had a small, like, reprieve at the beginning of 2021. Does not mean the COVID pandemic is over. What people don't think about is the climate crisis never went away. I agree. That's why we talk about this all the time. The carbon in our atmosphere increased in 2020 despite all shutdowns. I hate that climate issues have taken a back seat recently. We're killing our planet. At the rate we're going, we'll survive the pandemic, but our planet will be uninhabitable at 2040. It will definitely be catastrophic. if we continue down this path. And no, I personally have made it my point to continue to talk about climate change, and I continue to bring it up in any time I can. I bring up the climate crisis at any point that I can. In fact, I had another article here. There we go. So don't trust me, Kyle Parker. We definitely try to raise awareness of that particular issue in as many ways as possible. We definitely hate the planet in that regard. True. That being said, we've got new CDC guidelines, CDC updates. CDC reverses indoor mask policy, saying fully vaccinated people and kids should wear them indoors. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention recommended Tuesday that fully vaccinated people begin wearing masks indoors again in places with high COVID transmission rates. The agency is also recommending kids to wear masks in schools this fall. Yeah, I mean, like, and before, like, all of these people, conservatives, start freaking out about, like, the quote-unquote flip-flopping, the reason why they are advocating, recommending for people to wear masks in the areas that are high in COVID rates is because even though the vaccinated folks make a small amount of a percentage of transmission, they are still capable of. And if we can get people to wear masks as a general rule within these high transmission rate areas, for example, in Florida, there's a massive uptick. Florida, at this point, I think is number one. Is number one at this point. So, congrats, Florida. Nice job. Then yeah, you should be at this point. Now that the CDC has recommended it, you should be considering to wear a mask. Number one. That's right, Golem. How's it going? I'm so grateful that you've done so much to bring awareness to our climate situation. Thank you. I mean, like, I really do think that it is probably the most prescient matter. I'm just venting my frustration about leadership and the American people doing very little to curb carbon emissions and continue to drill on federal lands. Yeah, that never stopped. Despite our good friend Joe Biden saying that he would stop federal permits, it seems like he really hasn't stopped all of them. I believe there was an attempt to reverse some of the permits that were done during the Trump era, but that does not mean that all permits were stopped, right? So even though that is good, he failed to stop any other permits in any other areas, from what I understand. I think he stopped the Alaska permits. I think that's what he stopped. Of course. Federal health officials still believe fully vaccinated individuals represent a very small amount of transmission. Still, some vaccinated people could be carrying higher levels of virus than previously understood and potentially transmitted to others. And that's why you should wear masks if you're in a highly, if you're in an area that is highly, that has a lot of COVID cases, right? Because, like, even though you yourself as a fully vaxxed person won't really get affected, or it's very low chance that you'll be affected, the reality is you can still technically continue to transmit this, and I mean, it just stands to reason that I hope that everybody wants this to go away. So we should be doing our part and trying to observe any updated CDC guidelines and act accordingly and act like adults who are trying to solve a problem. Okay? This pandemic continues to pose a serious threat to health of all Americans. CDC Director Rochelle Walensky told the reporters on a call, "Today we have new science related to the Delta variant that requires us to update the guidance regarding what you can do when you're fully vaccinated." Yeah, like, again, this is because we have updated data, and people need to understand that science updates itself all the time, okay? Anytime there's an update, it's for a reason, because we have new studies to show X, Y, or Z, right? So don't consider this like a flip-flop or anything of the sort. Any rational adult would understand that as we get more information, then things change, right? Can you imagine if we had this type of attitude as we were like exploring and like understanding the world around us? At one point, we thought that the scientific consensus was that the sun revolved around the earth or whatnot, or the earth revolved around. Wait, no, the sun revolved around the earth, not the other way around. And then, lo and behold, we had new updated information and new changes were done, albeit took us a while, but we accepted those as consensus, and lo and behold, it evolved, it changed. Now we have an understanding that actually we revolve around the sun. Amazing, right? Can you imagine if we had this attitude during that time? That's right, science is always evolving. Correct. The updated guidance comes ahead of this fall season when the highly contagious Delta variant is expected to cause another surge in coronavirus cases. Many large employers plan to bring back workers back to the office. In mid-May, the CDC said fully vaccinated people didn't need to wear masks in most settings, whether they're indoors or outdoors. In areas with substantial and high transmission, CDC recommends that fully vaxxed people wear masks in public, indoor settings to help prevent the spread of the Delta variant and to protect others. This includes schools, Walensky said. The CDC recommends that everyone in grade school wear masks indoors, including teachers, staff, students, visitors, regardless of vaccination status. I mean, like, to be quite honest, because people are people, I think it was a massive mistake to prematurely lift these mask mandates. And like, the problem is people are refusing to act like adults and are all of a sudden getting like Google degrees on epidemiology, or at least attempting to sound smart. Using words they clearly have absolutely no idea what they mean. This person has absolutely no idea what any of these words mean. This is clear misinformation, so we're gonna have to like dispel it. The implication, in order for you to have a toxicity study, the implication being it is a toxin. It's in the word. The only reason we have toxicity studies is because we need to know what this toxic chemical does. It is not a chemical that you study. mRNA vaccines are not a chemical that you study. This makes absolutely no sense. So, it is to be immediately ignored. But we'll go further. So, me being not a science person, me being not a virologist, me being not an epidemiologist, but you know what? We can kind of like Google some of these terms and understand where this person's coming from, because like at face value, like wow, this sounds like really legit. Wow, I know big words, so I must know what I'm talking about. Okay, fine. Toxicokinetics is a description of both what rate a chemical will enter the body and what occurs to excrete and metabolize the compound once it's in a body. Yeah, that's not a vaccine, buddy. A vaccine is not a chemical. Okay, maybe Big Brain over here has a point. Let's check out what genotoxicity means. Again, it describes the property of chemical agents that damages the genetic information within a cell, causing mutations which may lead to cancer. Number one, there's absolutely no evidence. There's absolutely no evidence to suggest that the virus mutates your genes in any way, shape, or form. And again, this is the implication that it's some kind of chemical agent. The implication is that there's some type of chemical agent involved in this mRNA vaccine, or even in the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. There is no such thing. Okay, here we have another drop. A big word. Big word. All right, so big word from Big Brain over here. Let's take a look. Okay. The term carcinogenicity is the ability or tendency to produce cancer. Okay. The term carcinogen denotes a chemical substance or mixture of chemical substances which induce cancer or increase its incidence. We have absolutely no suggestion to really have these type of we have no evidence to suggest that this will even be a thing. Furthermore, again, the implication is that this vaccine is based off chemical mixtures or chemical substances or chemical compounds. None of that is true. And you spelled it wrong too. When accounts with no profile pics and no followers say dumb shit, I just ignore it. True. The problem is, these people believe it. Okay, they'll see this and they'll see these big words, and they'll see these big words, and they'll believe it. He didn't even spell it. He spelled it wrong too. Hey, Larry Vaccinated, how's it going? Think your 10-minute Google YouTube search trumps someone whose entire job is and life is researching this stuff? Exactly. Like these Google graduates swear that, like, by putting a whole bunch of like words they have absolutely no idea what any of these words mean, that makes them like 200 IQ or something like that. But like the reality is, the reason why I'm pointing this out, regardless of followers or anything like that, is to point out the severity of the misinformation and how deep it goes. Because like normal people, this is probably just a regular Twitter user, regular person, just a regular dude on the internet, is already believing this stuff, or is already in their head. In their head, they believe they have like this 200 IQ take, and it's very dangerous, and it shows just how like bleak the situation is when it comes to misinformation. It goes. I feel that. Yeah, do your own research. Jesus Christ. It's just an illustration to show how deep the misinformation goes, and as Grolum pointed out, the hubris that someone must have in their head to think that somehow their like Google their Google/YouTube degree trumps somebody who's like literally studies this for their job. That's literally their job. I was reading this Twitter story about this chick's mom who was an RN who literally went to school for all this stuff, and all of these YouTube scholars and false information, pandemic nonsense literally rotted her brain. Yeah, and you know what? This is incredibly demoralizing to a lot of these nurses and doctors who are having to deal with the fallout of this, right? I mean, like, people literally on their last breath denying this. To the point where she didn't even believe the shit she went to school for and practiced 20 plus years. Jesus Christ. That goes to show that, like, no one is above being no one is above being like corrupted by misinformation. I see what you're saying now. No one is above being corrupted by misinformation. Incredible. The head of CDC warning us that the Delta variant is most contagious and dangerous virus in human history. Emergency at any point in a storm. True. I didn't see that. I didn't see that statement. So I'm gonna hold off on that. I didn't see that statement, but I do think that we should take this seriously, and I do think that at this point, like, come on. Like, can we just be adults for the next 2 months? I mean, seriously. The point she was making is that her mom went to school and was an RN for decades and basically said, imagine what this is doing to boomers who don't have the background and don't even have this training. Right, it's just like, these people are literally believing anything because it's on Facebook or the internet or whatever. Right? What does the 2 months refer to? I'm just showing up. Oh, I'm just saying that if it would be grand, it would be swell. It would be swell if for the next 2 months we can just like act like adults. I mean, seriously. Walensky said, new data shows the variant behaves uniquely different from past strains of the virus, indicating that some vaccinated people infected with the Delta variant may be contagious and spread the virus to others. Health experts fear the Delta And already the dominant form of the disease in the US is hitting states with low vaccination rates, so states are now being forced to reintroduce mask rules, capacity limits, and other public health measures that they've largely rolled back in the recent months. Yeah, so like all of this, and this is just like this new variant, right? This thing mutates or changes all the time, but this particular variant is already disturbing because, well, if it moves in this direction, what happens when, if this continues, it mutates again, or it changes again, and there's a new variant that makes the vaccine even mute. And then what? We go back to square zero. Well, not even square one. We'd go back to square zero. And then what? We gotta start all over again. Because people can't behave like adults. The latest computer model said that the surge will peak in October at 3 times the present rate. I mean, it's quite possible. It's possible. Yeah, sure, that'd be nice if we could do it at all. True. All these stupid people. The problem is, like, it's not just the fact that they're stupid. These people, quite often, are victims of very well delivered, very well-crafted propaganda and misinformation, right? And furthermore, it doesn't just affect them because they spread it to others, right? So like, yeah, we're kind of all of us are in this one together, okay? White House Chief Medical Advisor Anthony Fauci, Dr. Anthony Fauci, said that the CDC was considering whether to revise mask guidance for vaccinated Americans, said it was under active consideration, which is what this is about. It is a dynamic situation. It's a work in progress. It evolves like in so many areas of the pandemic. True. So like people need to understand that, okay? This changes all the time, okay? Information, especially with an unprecedented like situation that we're in, it changes all the time as new data comes in, as we figure out what's going on here, and as we do more studies, as we get more information. Yeah, it's going to change. Guidelines are going to change. Jesus Christ. Hey Alio, how's it going? Also, it's not that hard to believe that conspiracies and the straight damage our pharma companies have, and the straight up damage our pharma companies have done in the past. Yeah, okay, great. I completely understand that. Spread it forward. I mean, we've gone over like the cases of Johnson & Johnson's products. I think talcum powder, and you know, the Purdue role in the opioid crisis. We've gone over that. Absolutely. But we have to also kind of like draw the line of like reality, right? Like these are separate incidences, and although we can criticize and be like, wow, they've really messed up a lot of people with those particular products and those particular senses, we're in a whole other scenario. This is a completely different scenario. They had to spread it to kids, no vaccine for them under 12. Yeah, so the proper procedure at that point would be to get the kids who are not eligible for vaccines is to wear masks. That's it. Simple as that. Did you see the 2 MTG Gates videos? It's very funny. Well, post them. I would like to see them. It's a dynamic situation. It's a work in progress. It evolves like in so many areas of the pandemic. True. Dr. Fauci said. Also, Director of NIA, National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, told CNN, you gotta look at the data. True. True. Of course. The CDC's guidance is only a recommendation, leaving up to state and local officials on whether to reintroduce their mask rules for certain people, but even before the CDC's anticipated guidance Tuesday, some regions were reintroducing mask mandates and advisories as COVID cases began to spike again. Walensky said a majority of the hospitalizations and death in the U.S. are occurring among the unvaccinated. You know what could solve that? You know what could solve that? Getting the vaccine. Occurring unvaccinated people, pointing to the vaccines that have worked well in protecting against severe illness and death, but the big concern is the next variant that might emerge. Yeah, that's exactly what we were talking about earlier. The biggest issue is if the Delta variant is already like creating issues in terms of like transmissibility, even among the vaccinated, despite it being very effective at protecting from severe illness and a certain level of protection of transmissibility, then what happens when there is a variant that can skip the vaccine? That can circumvent that. What happens when a variant comes out where a few mutations away, as she says here, the head of CDC, what happens when it does actually, if we continue down this path? It just might. And then what? And then what? Back to square zero, folks. Now, Fauci admit that the vaccinated can spread the Delta. I have my game switch to KN95, no more cloth mask. If you have the option of wearing KN95 or N95 or any equal types of masks, I would highly recommend that be the options. If you have those options, KN95, N95, and I believe there's another one that are comparable to all of those masks. So yeah, if you have that, please wear that. It's what you should be wearing if you have access to it. I'm not sure if that's 100% very vaccinated. I think they have been able to manufacture vaccines, have they not? Maybe I'm wrong. President Joe Biden said the CDC's updated guidance was necessary to defeat the virus, and that he will lay out the next steps to get more Americans vaccinated on Thursday. Although most U.S. adults are vaccinated, too many are not. Wait, is that true? No way. Last time I checked, it was like 50%. We're just about 50% of fully vaccinated Americans. We still need to do better, he said in a statement. More vaccinations and mask wearing in areas of impact in the areas most impacted by Delta variant will enable us to avoid the kind of lockdowns, shutdowns, and school closures and disruptions we faced in 2020. Yeah, hey, I have a great solution to all these people who are crying about lockdowns. I know this is like a super big brain take. If you want to avoid lockdowns and shutdowns and all of this other stuff that you were crying about, get vaccinated. Just get vaccinated. You don't like the lockdowns? You don't like the potential shutdowns or whatnot? Quit acting like a kid. Gotcha. Several counties across California and Nevada were already advising all residents who are masked in public indoor settings, whether they are vaccinated or not. In Massachusetts, officials in Provincetown advised all individuals to resume wearing masks indoor after 4th of July celebrations led to an outbreak of new cases. Sorry, I suspect that there's like when the CDC really made the call of saying fully vaccinated folks can start beginning to remove masks, I think that was premature. And I think that because the CDC made these type of guidelines, I got a feeling that a lot of folks who aren't vaccinated stopped wearing masks. I have a feeling that once those recommendations were made, a lot of folks who weren't vaccinated began to stop using masks and is now and now we see the fruits of that. But sanctions prevent mass production? It's a hard thing to... Building new factories is a hard thing to do under Biden's brutal attacks. I'm not 100% on that. I will definitely take a look on that. I'm not informed on what exactly sanctions... these particular sanctions do in Cuba. So I'm not 100% on that. Make sure you watch. Both are very funny. Gotcha. Experts say COVID prevention strategies remain critical to protect people from the virus, especially in areas of moderate to high community transmission levels. CDC defines substantial transmission as counties that have 50 to 100 cases per 100,000, 50 to 100 cases per 100,000 residents over a 7-day period, and high transmission is more than 100 cases per 100,000 people in over 70 days. We have places in counties and states that are now reporting over 300 cases per 100,000 over a 7-day period, so really an extraordinary amount of viral transmission, which is what we're concerned about. Yeah, so the TLDR of this article is that the CDC is recommending in high transmissibility in high transmission areas that are experiencing high COVID increases or high COVID spikes, to please mask up and understand that this is for the protection of others and the protection of yourself, regardless of vaccination status. I recommend that if you have if you're in one of these areas, to please respect these new updated guidelines, because, well, it helps us to try to get this over with as soon as possible, right?
Thank you to the cable and
and sending letters about for months. We also gave notice here at the Department of Justice that we were coming to ask our questions, and as you can see, we weren't even let in the lobby.
That's
now,
right.
As members
And
of
95
Congress
KN95
representing districts with hundreds of thousands of people, it's unbelievable to me that the Department of Justice will not let us in their lobby to even answer our questions. Questions that we've been asking. What intelligence was available prior to January 6th regarding the influx of people into the District of Columbia?
We had hearings about this. We had hearings about this.
And their intentions. You see, we already know that intelligence knew.
Yes. So we know exactly. Yeah.
They knew ahead of time that there were threats of violence.
Yes. We know this because we had hearings about this. The problem with said intelligence is that there was a massive incompetence in how that was brought up, or the improper remittance of that information was the problem, right? They weren't communicating. the people, the departments who had this information between the FBI. I think even NYPD had some type of memo going around trying to alert Capitol DC police. All of these like different law enforcement branches, it completely dropped the ball in terms of like getting this information to the appropriate in the appropriate way or whatnot. That was the problem. It was a failure to communicate this properly and in time.
And I have to tell you, as a freshman member of Congress, that was the 4th day on my job, January 6th, and I was shocked, absolutely shocked at what happened at the Capitol. And even more so, I am shocked that with the intelligence that there was going to be violence, that the National Guard was not present on January 6th.
Yeah, I wonder why. Wait. Yeah. Good question, Representative Green. Why wasn't the National Guard present? Who controls the National Guard? Marcel here, thank you so much for the gifted one sub, tier 1 sub to Big Dangly. Thanks. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you. Very kind. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, who has control of the National Guard in DC?
On January 5th, we know that there were pipe bombs at the RNC and the DNC. There's a video of the person that placed them there. And I'd like to know, and we're asking the question, with that great threat of violence, pipe bombs at both places.
Yeah. But you know, it was just a regular old tour. It was just like a regular tour, right? It was just like a regular tour. That's it, you know? All it was is just guys, it was just a couple of old boomers just strolling around the Capitol, just chilling, right? Like it was just a couple of disgruntled folks. Nice meme, Marjorie Green. Nice meme. But seriously, I love this channel with my coffee and early morning emails. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Big Nangly Things. That makes me feel good. Thank you. Yeah, they also chanted "Hang Mike Pence." Right? These very, very peaceful tourists also chanted "Hang Mike Pence." Like, oh yeah. Yeah, there was everything was fine, you know.
RNC and DNC, why was it not taken seriously?
It is. It's currently being under investigation. There are about 500 plus people who are currently being indicted for this. Yeah, don't worry. I'm sure they'll find that person. Correct. There was also the I don't know if it was a guillotine, but it was a gallows. Spread it forward. I think it was a gallows. Unless there's other videos of other stuff.
And why wasn't the National Guard brought in?
Because the person... because... I don't know how to tell you this, Miss Green. But the person who controls the National Guard in DC is... well... Donald Trump. Maybe you should ask him that question. Thank you for the follow, Pepe the Groundhog. Because Trump was busy, true. like these questions have very obvious answers to them, right? Like, well, why wasn't the DC National Guard out there protecting the Capitol? I don't know, Marjorie Green. Why wasn't it? Who controls the said DC Guard? Oh, this was at the Arizona State Capitol. Gotcha. Yikes. Jesus Christ. Oh yeah, no, this still was a thing. These very peaceful folks just casually erecting guillotines. Cool. Nice meme. Nice meme.
Those are the questions that we have. Also, when the Capitol Police requested to Nancy Pelosi on January 6th, asking her office, asking her for the National Guard on January 6th, why wasn't that request made?
Because Nancy Pelosi doesn't control. We went over this, but Nancy Pelosi doesn't have the authority to control the National Guard. The Capitol Police, they can request the National Guard to Pelosi all they want, but that's not how this works. Okay? That's not how this works. This, again, as we had multiple hearings about this, this was all about incompetence, right? Failure to act on the intelligence, failure to provide the intelligence to the correct place, and just an overall, like, complete disarray during the actual incident, right? It needs more cowbell.
Why did the National Guard not come in to protect the Capitol Police and all of us?
Because they weren't called, Representative Green. In which case you would have to ask yourself, why weren't they called? And then, well, okay, so they weren't called. That's interesting. Who exactly has the authority to do so? Well, if you, it blows my mind because she's a representative in Congress. She should know then the authority lies between the President of the United States and the Secretary of Defense.
Inside. You see, currently there's a January 6th committee happening with Nancy Pelosi leading it,
right,
in some sort of manner where she doesn't want Republicans that are picked by the minority leader.
You were offered bipartisan, complete bipartisanship in this January 6th commission. You were offered it. You didn't take it because you got big mad and you didn't want to investigate it, which is very strange to me. And now you're crying about the lack of bipartisanship? And now you're crying about the bipartisanship?
On the committee. These are all good questions that we should be asking, and I'm happy to be joined with my colleagues here. We want to know, how are the detainees being treated inside the jail?
The detainees? Oh, wait.
We would like to know many other things. And
Wait. Now we're concerned about the conditions of, like, prisons? Wait, hold on. Now we're concerned about how people are treated in prisons? Oh man, this just gets better. This stuff isn't even funny anymore. They're low-key trying to screw our country up. Well, I will say this, Pepe the Groundhog, it is incredibly disturbing. It is definitely not funny in terms of, like, the implications of what happened. And the fact that we're still having, like, conversations about this is, like, wild to me. But it does have a significant impact on the way people view our institutions and our systems. And it does have, it will have, it does have a lasting implication. It does have a lasting implication. I think it may. I hope that I'm wrong. Okay, I hope that I'm wrong, and we'll see. Well, the thing is, like, it's kind of hard to, like, even though we understand that there are stochastic, like, reasons or stochastic blame. I don't know, like, what, in terms of, like, legal wise, what we could do in terms of that. I mean, like,
over to the next person.
Louis Gomer.
Yep, we have gotten reports about
Reports.
mistreatment in the jail, people being shipped to jails all over.
Interesting. Like all of a sudden, wow, like man, we should really look at the way like people are treated in our jails. Interesting.
And it is important to know the conditions in jail. We've asked for an...
I agree. However, it's really, really rich that this is the situation you bring these grievances up in. Unbelievable.
opportunity to inspect the jails. Back when I was a felony judge, I would show up unannounced at jails or prisons because I needed to know what kind of treatment people got that go in there. And, you know, when you have people that will probably be arrested here for disorderly conduct, we need to make sure that the jails are treating them properly when they're arrested.
I thought the mantra was like, well, they're criminals, so they get what they deserve. I thought that was the mantra, right? I thought it was, well, if you didn't want this to happen to you, maybe you shouldn't have done the crime. Wasn't that literally just like the talking points, like just not that long ago? Amazing. Well, if you didn't want to end up in jail, or you didn't want to end up messed up by the cops or messed up by the jailers or whatever, then maybe you shouldn't have done the crime. I mean, where's that attitude? Or does it only matter when it happens to one side? Is that what it is? Hey Justin, how's it going? Now all of a sudden there's a concern about how we treat prisoners in this country. Now we have a what is it? Virtue signal? Are we trying to virtue signal here? About how we treat prisoners? Now all of a sudden it's incredibly concerning. Very concerning.
But we condemn any violence, and I would have no problem at all.
Now, I have a question. That being said, Mr. Gomer, I imagine that this is Louis Gomer. That being said, should we then, based on your statements, then make a countrywide assessment of our jails and prison systems and how we should address criminal justice, and maybe figure out what the problems are here and try to fix this to make this a better criminal justice system? Would that be something that you'd be interested in, or is it just now like convenient for you to bring up?
If I were still on the bench, sending anybody that participated in violence, theft, any of the trespasses that knowingly did so, I'd have
Knowingly
no problem
did so?
sending
They all
them to jail.
knowingly
That
did
would
that.
not be an
Wait,
issue.
what?
So we got to make sure that people like this here that are acting disorderly, that they're treated fairly when they get to jail. We have been asking for months for meetings with the Attorney General. We have asked in letters to the D.C. jail and been refused. The D.C. jail prison are under the auspices of the federal prison system, and yet we've been denied that. They want no oversight. They don't want to give information, and yet there are reports of people being held and demands for admission of guilt, and they have not been shown the evidence against them. They've not been shown the exonerating, exculpatory evidence as required by law. So there are a lot of problems going on here. Now, for anybody that, for example, is out on bond and then calls in nasty messages to the pretrial release, I got no problem sending them back to jail for sure. But we still need to know, do we have political prisoners here in America or not? And we can't get an answer. And I was taught in the Army that normally no answer is an answer of no.
What?
Or an answer that, yes, what you're concerned about is happening, so we're not going to answer. So in any event, that's why we're here. That's why we would come out and subject ourselves to
Subject
standing
ourselves?
up for people, whether they've done right or wrong. They deserve to be treated properly. We're here standing up.
We're subjecting ourselves to what? This guy's just straight up like he's bullshit. Because he is. He is. Maybe this whistle is fucking with their thought process. No, this whistle's... No. We've had... Their thought process is messed up beforehand. The whistles had nothing to do with it.
For due process. And I have fought for due
Wait.
process all of my professional
Now they care about due
career.
process and all this other stuff?
Anybody else in
Unbelievable.
Congress that has represented a defendant who was sentenced to be put to death
Huh?
and who represented him through the highest courts and got his case reversed as I did. And as I told the court, the highest criminal court in Texas back when I argued his case, look, I'm here to make sure that we have due process, that people that are brought to trial have an opportunity to have a fair trial, to get due process, to see the evidence against them, and to actually see any exonerating
So instead of like
didn't happen in that
sitting
case.
here and grandstanding and like virtue signaling, is there actually any evidence of any of this? Because like, I don't know. Press X to doubt, chat. Press X to doubt.
Case was reversed. So I'm here just to try to see that due process is done, and I'm pleased to be standing with other concerned people from Congress about what is being happened. Are we housing political prisoners?
Nope.
We need to know the answers. So with that, I would turn things over to my friend Matt Gates.
Honored to be here with my colleague Louis Gohmert from the House Judiciary Committee, and we're wondering why questions that have been asked by colleagues for many months have gone unanswered. Perhaps there are reasonable explanations for why the Attorney General hasn't been forthcoming with information regarding these particular detainees, but as folks representing all Americans, we think that we've got to get those answers. Antifa and BLM set fires to this country for months, and we did not see an interest from federal law enforcement in those claims.
What
But now
aboutism?
there are Americans all over this country who are being harassed, who are being targeted by law enforcement, and if there's a basis for that, then we need to make sure that we get it, and that's why we're here answering these questions. Honored to be here with my colleagues, and would now turn it over to Congressman Paul Gosar.
Thank you, everybody. I too am happy to join my Republican colleagues and demand the answers to very troubling reports that the Biden administration and Justice Department are mistreating nonviolent prisoners arrested.
Non-violent prisoners? Wait. Wait. Oh boy.
January 6th. Let me make this perfectly clear. I deplore violence. That's why I've asked for the 1,400 hours of tapes to be released so that we can hold those wrongdoers accountable and those vindicated for when they're innocent. Over 6 months have passed, nearly 200 of these individuals remain separated from their families. There are disturbing reports that some of these prisoners are being abused and held in solitary confinement for up to 23 hours a day. These are not unruly or dangerous violent criminals. These are
What?
political prisoners.
Wait. Oh, hold on. Was this guy like not? Was this guy like asleep or something? We have videos. We have videos of dozens and dozens and dozens of counts of assault of people like breaking through the windows. We have people erecting gallows. We have people on the oh god, the little like phone system inside the Capitol, like telling Pelosi that they're coming after her. There was massive chants. They were chanting. Not one person, not a few. The crowd was chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." This is about as like asinine as the other guy who was saying that there was this tourist as he was hiding behind a Secret Service guy with a gun.
Who are now being persecuted and bearing the pain of unjust suffering. Individuals arrested for illegal acts on January 6th deserve to be treated fairly. We are here today to demand that all evidence gathered by the DOJ be produced. That's why I have constantly, and I reiterate, asked for the 1,400 hours of tapes to be released so that we can hold people accountable and vindicate those that are innocent. The public demands it, and it's the defendants deserve equal justice under the law. How is it that those that are not even citizens get better treatment and have due process at Gitmo when they don't have it here?
What? That is a very big claim, my friend. Is there you got a source on that? I mean, he looks incredibly uncomfortable. He must be knowing. He must know that all of this is just bullshit. This guy looks incredibly uncomfortable.
I also want to ask, where is the groups like Amnesty International? The
Yes, thank you.
ACLU,
Thank you, Pirate Ninja. See, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. Like, he looks incredibly uncomfortable.
Human Rights Watch. I'm here with my colleagues, with my members for oversight, to actually ask for those questions and have oversight of our prisons. Thank you for attending, and now I turn it over to Mr. Biggs.
Thank you, everyone, for being here today. I am delighted to be here with my colleagues on this important issue.
Drugs can have that effect too.
You know, it wasn't too many weeks ago that we had a hearing in Congress where the FBI director addressed the January 6th issue to some extent. He mentioned that there was the vast majority of people who were peaceful protesters. Then he said there was a smaller group, a much smaller group, that entered the Capitol and committed what we would consider technical crimes, things like trespass.
Technical crimes?
Small group.
Wait, what kind of like pedantic attempt to... So like now we're doing this argument? Okay. Cool.
That attacked the Capitol Police and vandalized the Capitol. As he said at the time,
they didn't wait, that is a very nice way of saying like, oh yeah, they assaulted like over 100 and something police officers, and as we saw some of the testimony, the crowd was chanting slurs at some of them. The crowd was chanting slurs at some of them, and they were assaulting them with flagpoles, among other things. I don't know. I don't know. The irony of seeing like the massive amount of back the blue flags. Still. You can tell they're on it for the optics, the future money handed to him for having these thoughts true.
The question from one of the congressmen from California said, I can't call this an insurrection. Why? Because I am bound to have legal definitions.
Alright, Mr. Legal. Alright, Mr. Pedantic legal definitions. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Yeah, no, that fits. Yeah, no, that's what happened. The cop on the far left, side's foot is trashed for life. He won't be able to work anymore. Yeah, from the very, very peaceful protest, right? The very peaceful tourist action.
Definition. So he said, I can't call it that. Was very, very interesting to me to hear that testimony from Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI. And just moments ago, I came from a hearing in Congress in the Crime Subcommittee, in which I'm the ranking member. And in that committee hearing, we were talking about fines and fees and how they can be excessive and how they violate the due process rights and put people on a collision course of reoffending. I find that very interesting, juxtaposed to where we are today. What we have here today
I find that interesting too.
A group of congressmen.
So you're admitting that there are serious problems, possibly, with the criminal justice system. The question is, when presented with a solution of like trying to reevaluate how some of our criminal justice functions, that's really weird. You guys never seem to be on board with that. Weird. All of a sudden now, the tune changes. Weird.
And women who have asked questions and said, look, we really want to know, we want to get to the bottom of it. How are these individuals being treated while they await their day in court? Some are being held without bail.
Oh man, I know. Shame. Damn. To use your logic, maybe they shouldn't have done the crime.
Solitary confinement for no rational
Damn.
reason. So it
Damn, maybe they shouldn't have done the thing.
leaves us to wonder, are their rights being protected? We've got to recognize there are due process rights.
Yeah,
for
I'd have to
everyone.
question myself. True.
Everyone.
Magic the Gathering did nothing wrong.
For
True.
those who I politically disagree with, I would expect due process rights to be invoked for the most heinous of criminals because we rely on the rule of law in this country. Everyone is to be treated equally and similarly before the law. All have their day. And we've asked questions, and they've been ignored. They've not just been ignored by the Department of Justice. We've asked questions of other agencies about other issues. They've all gone ignored. That is why we're here. We're not here to do more than say, give us the answers to the questions we've asked. Let us know that due process is going forward. Let us know that these people are being treated appropriately and fairly and humanely. That is not too much to ask from the United States government, the United States Department of Justice, the United States Department of Prisons. I thank you for being here. I hope that we can get answers to these questions very soon. Thank you. I'll turn the time now over to my friend, the Congressman from Virginia, Bob Good.
You know, we see another example of the intolerant left who doesn't want to allow you to hear speech that they don't like.
The intolerant
this is
left.
an issue that I've been asked about by my constituents around the district over the past several months. Why don't we know what's going on with the folks who've been arrested from the January 6th incident? And so we're here today. We requested a meeting with the Attorney General, and of course we didn't get that meeting, so we're here today with my friends and colleagues seeking one thing: transparency. And I agree with my friend Congressman Gohmert that the events on January 6th were simply appalling. Despite
Imprisoning these criminals is a violation of their HIPAA rights. True.
what the media will tell you, everyone here today condemned the lawlessness of January 6th while also defending the constitutional rights of those who were here peacefully.
I've seen nothing from intolerance on both sides. I mean, like,
questions that the Department of Justice has ignored.
I think the issue here is that, like, they're consistently saying, like, the intolerant left, while like also being intolerant themselves is like the problem. And like, well, you would have to define what that even means, or what they mean by that. Like, what does intolerance mean for them?
Over these past several months, despite repeated inquiries from my colleagues,
Yeah, and therefore we can't fix anything. Correct.
Of the January 6 defendants. In this country,
yeah, which is why I'm asking the follow-up question, Super Surge.
The legal treatment of an American.
What does that mean?
To the opportunity to answer the charges brought against them before a judge or a jury of their peers. Due process must be afforded to all Americans. Period.
I mean, again, like, where were these people, like, before, right? Where were these people from before? Where, like, you know, when we tried to do like a lot of criminal justice reform and stuff like that to improve our systems, where were these people crying about due process or crying about the way people are treated in jails? Which, by the way, they are correct. In terms of like how we should evaluate our jails and go and make inspections on jails and make sure that everybody's being treated like a human being, they are correct in that statement. But it's just really rich coming at this specific time in this specific incident. I mean, like, really? Really? It's like, yeah, so you're admitting that there is a problem with our criminal justice system and that maybe we should take a look into it. It's just the real, like, the timing of it all, and like the real, like, the richness of now it's when they bring it up. And this particular incident, out of all the incidents, it's like now they bring this up. Now they care about due process. Now they care about how, like, people are treated in jails. That's kind of weird, my dudes. Kind of weird.
Sadly, many questions, serious questions, previously presented by my colleagues have not been answered, but have been completely ignored by Attorney General Garland and the Department of Justice. While it's clear that Attorney General Garland may not be in a rush to respond to us, what is his answer to Defense Counsel Marty Tankleff, who said of the treatment of January 6 defendants, "This is not normal. It's not normal to isolate people and make them eat off the floor." Mr. Tankleff would know this because he would know what...
Hey, if there are credible reports of this... If there are credible reports on this, then that kind of states... That kind of, like, illustrates the state of our prison system, in which case, hey, would you be interested in passing some criminal justice reform? If that is true, and that is the state of our prison system, I've seen a rich man beg, I've seen a good man sin, I've seen a tough man cry, I've seen a loser win. Yeah, I like that song. And Gate's trying to look like he's not trying not to be in a close-ups with this group. True. I'm down for doing some actual criminal justice reform, but it has to be comprehensive. This one scenario isn't an issue in and of itself. Yeah, like, I'm just, like, pointing out, like, I don't want to say hypocrisy, but, like, the timing, the richness, the virtue signaling. It's like, now they care about all this stuff. Whereas, like, a couple of months ago, they were like, yeah, well, you deserve what you get. If you're a criminal, then that's on you.
Normal treatment is because in detention because he was in prison for almost 20 years before being exonerated for a wrongful murder charge. Should we ignore Mr. Tankleff? Should we also ignore Senators Warren and Senator Durbin, who both expressed concerns about the accusations regarding January 6 defendants if they were in solitary confinement? I'm pleased that some federal judges have intervened on behalf of some of these claims of mistreatment, but there's no substitute for complete transparency in our justice system and the protection of the public trust. Let's remember that back in March, the Department of Justice had to be reprimanded for discussing matters concerning this investigation.
Yeah. Did you hear about the voicemail to the cop who testified? They played it in full in the Commie News Network. Can you please send that to us or post it in chat? Virtue signaling. I was just told and I assumed I was virtue signaling my altruism because I feel for the homeless. Wow. Empathy equals virtue signaling. Amazing. I wonder if that's the podium that rioters took. Amazing. Being an empathetic human being. What is this? Hold on. I can't see. I'm like... Oh, yes. Okay. Come on. Hey.
January 6th. Play it.
Yeah, this is from Michael Fanone, Metropolitan Police Officer. You're on trial right now, lying, and you want an Emmy, an Oscar? What are you trying to go for here? You're so full of shit, you little faggot fucker. You're a little...
Whoa! Jesus Christ. John Lemon's face is an SFW. Okay, hold on. Yeah, so we gotta be careful. CW, alright? CW.
Pussy, man. I can slap you up the side of your head with a backhand and knock you...
These are the same, no, it's not, like, it's not technically, a TOS on my end. Only if I'm the one engaging in this behavior, I believe, right? Yeah, but hey, let's back the blue, folks, right?
Wow, you little faggot. You're a
Jesus.
faggot. You're a
All right.
lying fuck. How about all that scummy black fucking
Oh.
scum for 2 years, destroying our cities and burning them,
Jesus
stealing all
Christ.
that shit out of the stores and everything? How about that, and assaulting cops and killing people? How about that, you fucker?
Oh my
That was
God.
shit on the goddamn Capitol. I wish they would have killed all you scumbags.
Oh, nice. The icing on the cake is that beautiful sprinkle of like of threat of like murder. Cool. I think Twitch leans in with real life political reporting as long as you aren't the one saying it. True.
Because you people are scum. They stole the election from Trump, and you know that. You
No way. Oh my God. You know, yeah, that's a good point, Super Surge. How about you step up and say that to that cop's face? Hey, Yellow King. Couldn't this count as evidence for menacing? I don't know, because like it depends. Unless there's like a serious, like direct, like I'm gonna come to your house at this address to come like do something to you, then that would be considered a credible threat, and police will act on it. But generally speaking, like you just making, even though it's gross and disgusting, generally speaking, it wouldn't. I don't think. It wouldn't. I don't know how that would work. Maybe I'm wrong. If the election had been stolen, it would have been stolen from the people, not Trump, which is right. Exactly sourcing. Oh, by the way, did I say hello, howdy. And yeah, it tells us a lot about this guy's like mind state, and not only that, this entire like hateful rant is honestly, you could see the talking points like one by one of like these like far right like talking points in terms of like Trump stole the election, or the election was stolen from Trump. and like he didn't even address like the January 6th stuff. He just kept going on about like whataboutism and like, you know what? Since I have absolutely no other argument, I'm just gonna insult you, threaten you, and then shift positions and shift the direction, right? It is sad. It is sad because like you see this like perpetuating through social media and like these like online spaces where people just are like this. They are literally like this. And it's quite frustrating because like it doesn't have to be this way. Like, come on. That's the person I'm supposed to find common ground with? Well, maybe this particular person, no, but yeah. I don't think this person is interested in finding common ground at this point. Maybe one day down the road in life, who knows? But in this particular point in time, this particular person has absolutely no interest in finding any type of common ground. The only thing he's interested, the only thing he's interested in doing is like apparently spreading hate and threatening people. Here's my cute animal video. Oh, cool. We got okay, cool. We'll do that right now. This isn't just the right. We need to be careful not to align our politics to some hero figure. I agree. 100%.
And you fucking...
Except for me, okay? I'm everybody's political hero.
Too bad you didn't beat the shit out of you more. You're a piece of shit. You're a little fag.
Back the blue.
Scumbag.
Back the blue. Back the blue. Look at his face. Did you see the cop's face? Like, holy yikes. Duckies.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me, baby doggy.
Aw.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Stop.
Oh my god. Oh, come on. They're following you because they're cool. That is adorable. That is adorable. Yes, that's right. They found their dad. That's adorable. Excuse me while running away is brilliant. True.
And speculating on potential charges with the media, with prosecutors even being threatened with a gag order.
Thank you for the follow, Super Surge. Appreciate that.
Previously, with the Department of Justice had to be reprimanded to not speculate on the media regarding a high-profile case. It's unfortunate that members of Congress have received only silence from the Department of Justice regarding the treatment of these defendants based upon concerns arising from statements made under oath. Yet the Department of Justice has not speculated or has not hesitated to speculate about this investigation to their friends in the media. I thank Congressman Gohmert, a former judge no less, for his commitment to the rule of law and to seeking the truth, even in the face of much opposition. Thank you.
First of all, to the guy that's blowing the whistle, we are not deterred. And so for anyone that's here being an activist and yelling today, here's the statement that I need everyone to understand. We will not back down. We will not stop asking questions. We are looking for the truth.
Based upon concerns arising from statements made under oath.
I'm gonna go ahead to the courthouse now with my signs and see if I can leech the Wi-Fi off there.
Or has not hesitated to speculate.
They do have free Wi-Fi, don't they?
Investigation to their friends in the media. I thank Congressman Gohmert, a former judge no
Yes,
less,
it has.
for his commitment to the rule of law and to seeking the truth, even in the face of much opposition. Thank you.
First of all, to the guy that's blowing the whistle, we are not deterred.
And to the guy that's
so,
blowing the whistle, you are the MVP. Thank you.
for anyone that's here being an activist and yelling today,
Not sure, but I
here's
got
a
some new
statement
signs that
I
hopefully
need
people will
everyone
read.
to understand.
Interesting.
We will not back down. We will not stop asking questions. We are looking for the truth. And we
I know.
believe the truth
I'm
can
sure.
be found by reaching out and
Yes, I know.
answering
I
and
know.
asking the right questions to the right people. Listen, there's another thing. The taxpayers of this country
I would have framed it all from the
pay
beginning
all
true.
of these people's salaries, and they owe the people of this country the answers to the questions.
The problem is that the questions you are asking are most of them have already been answered. I mean, they're nonsensical. We had hearings about this, okay?
Okay.
The lab's interrupting the press conference.
Traders.
Thank you. For those of you that really care about due process, thank you.
Amazing. Shout out to the whistle guy. I like that. Brandy Love, a porn star who identifies as a conservative, was initially welcomed as a VIP at a Florida event by right-wing group Turning Point USA this weekend, but then was abruptly banned from the event by Christian conservatives. Huh, interesting. Huh. Interesting. The Tampa event by Turning Point USA, an organization that advocates for conservative values on high school and college campuses, started on Saturday and is scheduled to run until Tuesday. Love initially showed up at the Tampa Convention Center this weekend, posting an enthusiastic photo of herself to Twitter with the caption, "It's good to be around so many young conservatives. Gives me some hope." And then she was asked to leave by the event, not because of any backlash from conservative attendees, that was previously reported. TPUSA explained their actions in a letter to Newsweek on Sunday night. Alright, let's hear it. Quote, "Turning Point did not block Miss Love from its student event because of backlash," said Andrew Colvelt, a spokesperson. TPUSA did so in keeping with its standard operating procedure to not involve porn brands, influencers, or personalities that post or publish sexually explicit or pornographic content. So you're saying that you as a so what you're saying is that you as a private entity have certain restrictions, or have certain, how do I say this, views or stipulations about how you want your brand to be presented, and therefore in your mind you should have the right to say to somebody, because you don't really operate within our values or within our brands, we're not going to host you. So what you're saying is, like, people who, like, private entities, like, private entities have the ability to kind of dictate the rules in which they run. Interesting. I want people to take that one into consideration. Interesting. That's right, Memmius. Yeah, dare I say she could be, quote, cancelled or censored? Wow. So much for the tolerant right. A few concerned parents rightly alerted us to the extremely pornographic nature of her social media posts, and the event leadership immediately took the appropriate steps in keeping with the best interests of the minors present at the event. Nice meme. Furthermore, Miss Love purchased an adult VIP ticket. She was not invited, nor was her attendance somehow requested by the organization. The bottom line is that it's simply not appropriate for a porn star to be actively posting images at an event with 15 or 16-year-old present in conjunction with graphic pornography. TPUSA makes no apology for this, of course not. A position which should not be controversial, especially when minors are involved. How did these few concerned parents figure this out? Keep up the good fight, I'm on my way there now. And remember, freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor, must be demanded. Huh. Power is always illegitimate unless it proves itself to be legitimate. A few concerned parents rightly alerted us to the extreme pornographic nature of her social media post. So, how did you know that? That's very interesting because she wasn't a guest. She wasn't going to be a guest speaker. She wasn't going to be a guest speaker, so that wouldn't have been on the list. They confirmed that she just purchased a ticket. They confirmed. Thank you for the follow, Q filter. They confirmed that she wasn't like a requested speaker, that she wasn't going to be on the roster in any way, shape, or form, so that's very interesting. That is very, very interesting. The bottom line is that it is simply not appropriate for a porn star to be actively posting images at an event with 15 and 16-year-olds present in conjunction with graphic pornography. Yeah, like exactly, Super Surge. They may or may not have seen some videos. Especially when minors are involved, parents deserve this type of assurance, and DPUSA intends on giving them that confidence. Any controversy is purely contrived. It shouldn't be controversial. It's not like she's like going to TPUSA like to advocate for porn, or to like talk about her work, or to like, I don't know, advocate for her adult industry. Like, she was there as just an observer according to TPUSA, right? So like, take away from their perspective how they framed this, how TPUSA framed this. She wasn't there to like promote her work. She wasn't there to like, I don't know, necessarily like pose with minors for that reason in any way, shape, or form, nor was she there to speak about anything. It just goes to show, like, it's a nice meme, basically. They allowed her money, but not her. Exactly. I wonder if they refunded her ticket. Christian conservatives and others who appear to be white nationalists on social media began slamming the organization. Well, maybe. I don't know. I'd have to see. Organization's decision to welcome a film star to the Student Action Summit. Some complained that her presence clashed with conservative values, while others pointed out that minors who are in attendance. Imagine sending your kids to this conference thinking they're going to learn about Christian conservative values, and they come home with photos with porn stars. Again, interesting how you figured this out. Okay. Christian conservative values are a nice meme, just saying. And furthermore, how would they know that they would be posing with pictures with her if they didn't recognize who she was? Because remember, according to TPUSA, their official statement was she was not a guest speaker, she was not some type of invited person, she was just there as someone who purchased a ticket just to be in attendance, right? So how would they know to pose with photos if they didn't know who she was? It's like this weird projection, like, and it's always like, well, think about the kids. Well, the kids wouldn't know who the heck she was, unless they do, in which case, how would you know to pose with her? Exactly, exactly. How would they know she's a porn star if you're teaching them your conservative values? Correct. That's why I'm saying, like, this is a meme. The Christian the evangelical Christian conservative values are just one giant meme. But they're okay with Trump paying a porn star for sex while Melania was pregnant. Yeah, they don't care about that. That's why I said it's all a meme. It's all one giant meme. Yeah, to a degree that sometimes happens, Pirate Ninja. Former Kansas State student Jaden McNeil wrote on Telegram, Salon reported, on top of the online harassment, some attendees began to approach Love and criticize her for being part of the summit. Yeah, again, how did they know? She posted it on Twitter? Wait, what do you mean? What I'm saying is, how did these folks know to contact TPUSA that this person was like going to be in attendance? Did she like post it beforehand? Because it seems like the pictures here are at the actual event or something. Or was I getting that wrong? Several hours later, Love received a notification that she was no longer invited to be part of the conservative event. We regret to inform you that the SAS 21 has been revoked. An email from the right-wing organization said, according to an image posted on Twitter by the adult entertainer, the decision as final. This revocation does not impact application of future events, and we hope that you will consider applying again on the future. Yeah, okay. You can't make this shit up. I just watched Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk, Dan Bongino, Rick Scott, Kat Timpf speak about freedom, censorship, and how inclusive the movement is. Nice meme. And then they had me thrown out of the TPUSA conference. The Republican Party is broken. Well, you know what? Sometimes it takes incidents like this to realize exactly, to get a reality check, right? I hope this was a reality check. I hope that was a reality check, maybe. The adult entertainment star went on to defend her presence at the event, arguing that she was not there to represent the porn industry. Right, I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so, because she wasn't a guest speaker. Thanks for the follow, Brian. _10FF. I was not there representing my profession. I was just there as a citizen to be around other conservatives. The entire opening was about liberty, anti-cancel culture, inclusion, and then they unfortunately practiced the opposite. Yeah, I hope this kind of gets to the point, right? Nice meme. In addition to her work in the adult industry, she writes for conservative online magazine The Federalist, which Van Dominic, the co-founder of The Federalist, defended Love and criticized Turning Point USA. Nice meme. All around, nice meme. I agree. You know what? I agree. She shouldn't join the Republican Party. She should just be a libertarian. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Aren't libertarians worse? Libertarians don't have any type of political viability. 2 Colorado police officers are investigated after a violent arrest. Interesting. A Colorado police officer has been arrested on felony charges after a video showing him using his pistol to beat a man who was attempting to arrest, choking, and threatening to kill him. I wonder if the whole, like, outcry that we just saw with Representative Green, Gomert, about the treatment of people in our criminal justice system. I wonder if there's going to be a outcry about this. As he was attempting to arrest him, choking and threatening to kill him. And a second officer was also arrested after authorities say she failed to stop her colleague as required by new police accountability laws. I agree. The body camera footage was shown on Tuesday at a news conference of the Friday incident at what happened in the Denver suburb of Aurora, whose police department has been plagued by numerous police misconduct in recent years, including the 2018 death of Elijah McClain. The man repeatedly says, "You're killing me, bro," as Aurora police officer John Halbert holds him down and strikes him. In case you guys didn't know, like, being pistol whipped or being, like, smacked with a pistol is incredibly, like, it's really bad. It's like being smacked with, like, brass knuckles, right? It's a piece of metal. It's a piece of metal. If you move, I will shoot you. Jesus Christ. Stop fighting as I beat you with a pistol and choke you. Video show Hubert yelling at a man to roll over on his stomach and show his hands, to which the man complies. Worse than brass knuckles, they're heavier. There you go. Thank you, chat. I need water, as the man cries, and the body camera footage comes to an end. The man was hospitalized and after arrest on suspicion of trespassing. Jesus Christ. Suspicion, first of all, of trespassing? The Aurora Police Chief, Vanessa Wilson, called the arrest a very despicable act at the press conference. This video will shock your conscience. It's very disturbing. We're disgusted. This is not police work. We don't train this. Yeah. That's a problem. Yes, you can swing it like a small bat rather than force limited to your punching power. Oof. Halbert is under investigation over a possible first attempted degree assault, second degree assault, felony menacing in connection with the Friday incident, according to arrest warrants written by a police detective and obtained by the Denver Post. Officer Francine Martinez faces charges over allegedly not intervening to try to stop Halbert's purported use of force. A new Colorado police accountability law requires law enforcement to intervene when they witness abuse of force. Why this isn't the national standard is beyond me. Both officers have turned themselves in and wasn't immediately known if they had attorneys. Halbert and Martinez were dispatched Friday afternoon to investigate a trespassing report. The officers encountered 3 people who had outstanding federal felony warrants and tried to arrest them. 2 ran away. Halbert drew his pistol and pointed it at the third suspect, who did not resist. Halbert grabbed the back of that man's neck, pressed his gun against the man's head, and struck the man's head with a pistol at least 7 times while ordering him to lie on his stomach. Yeah, so again, so I see that, I see why they chased them, so it's not just suspicion on trespassing. They had actual active arrest warrants. However, that does not give you carte blanche to start pistol whipping people in the head. A still image taken from an officer's body camera showed footage and included in the affidavit allegedly shows Hubert choking the man. On the footage, Halbert told the sergeant after the arrest, "I was going to shoot him. I was going to shoot him, but I didn't know if I had a round in it or not." Hold on. Wait a minute. Hey, hold on. So you, a trained police officer, is in possession of a firearm and have absolutely no idea if there was a round in the chamber? You had absolutely no idea what's... Like, as someone who is comfortable around firearms, and as someone who, well, owns firearms, how do you not know this? You're a trained police officer. There must be certain protocol with how firearms are handled in police departments, right? So I imagine that each police officer has a protocol when it comes to like how your firearms should be, and should they be required to have a round in the chamber? Should they not? Is it improper to have a round already chambered? How much are you supposed to have one? These are all protocols that police departments have, I'm sure, when it comes to firearms. How did you not know this? Why are, and if that's the case, why are you in possession of a firearm? I was going to shoot him, but I didn't know if I had a round in it or not, the documents state. Hubbard also said blood on the man was from pistol whipping him. Aurora's troubled police department has been involved in several abuse of force incidents in recent years. The most egregious was the 2018 of McLean, a 23-year-old black man who died after being confronted by police responding to a citizen about a suspicious person in their neighborhood. Wilson became the first female to permanently lead Aurora Police Department when she got the job in August of 2020. At the time, the department was looking to regain public trust by following a tumultuous year since the death of McLean, whose officers stopped on the street and put to a chokehold. Wilson, who is white, 23, has experience with the police department. 23 years experience with the police department in Colorado's third largest city, a diverse community east of Denver. She got the job over 3 nationwide finalists, all black men. Well, I mean, I don't know. This is a little bit. Reductive. I don't know if that was specifically the implication being is because she's white, and I don't know all the details to make that determination, so I'm going to push back on this juxtaposition. Yeah. They conveniently left that after being put in a chokehold. They dosed him with a lethal dose of ketamine. Yes, that's correct, Pirate Ninja. That is correct. Which, by the way, why would police be even allowed to administer any type of anything? Unbelievable. Colorado's legislature passed a bill last year that, among other things, require all officers to use body cameras by 2023, ban chokeholds, limit potential lethal use of force, and removes qualified immunity from police, potentially exposing officers to lawsuits for their actions and use of force cases. Okay, I agree with that. The law of 2020 also bars police from using deadly force against suspects they believe are armed unless there's an imminent threat of a weapon being used. Well, the reality is the only time a police officer should be using lethal force is because it is their last resort and their life or their partner's life or civilian life is in danger. That is it. That is the only time where any lethal force is acceptable in any way, shape, or form. Unless there's an absolute imminent threat of this happening, lethal force should be out. It shouldn't be an option until your life, your partner's life, or imminent civilian death is or severe. In other words, it should align with the common self-defense laws that we have. Jesus Christ. It requires officers to intervene when they see use of excessive force by colleagues and to report such cases to superiors. I agree. The fact that this isn't standard procedure in all police departments is beyond me. Lawmakers strengthened this law this year to encourage more officers to use their body cameras and promote de-escalation techniques. I agree. Wilson said she moved quickly to put the officers on leave and release the body camera footage to shed light on an incident she said is an anomaly. And in a department trying to do better, she apologized to the man who was beaten up. Yeah, well, I mean, he's in the hospital. This is not the Aurora Police Department. This was criminal. Really? Interesting. Because according to this report, you guys have a history, so it's not just one incident. Hey, Robomax, how's it going? Just hanging out. We're just hanging out. They can, yes, hey bro, we're sorry. might be, you know, you're in the hospital with, like, after being, like, pistol whipped and left bloody. Sorry. Might be. Police are telling ShotSpotters to alter evidence from gunshot detecting AI. Nice. On May 31st, a 25-year-old Safarine Herring was shot in the head and dropped off at St. Bernard Hospital by a man named Michael Williams. He died 2 days later. Chicago police eventually arrested the 64-year-old Williams and charged him with murder. Williams maintains that Herring was hit by a drive-by shooting. A key piece of evidence in the case is video surveillance footage showing Williams' car stopped on 6300 block of South Stony Island at 11:46 p.m. The time and location where the police say they know that Herring was shot. How did they know? Hey, Darknet, howdy. I must go until next time. Have a good day, y'all. You have a good day. How did you know where the shooting happened? Police said ShotSpotter is a surveillance system that uses hidden microphone sensors to detect the sound and location of gunshots, generated an alert for that time and place. Except that's not entirely true, according to recent court filings. That night, 19 ShotSpotter sensors detected a percussion sound at 11:46 p.m. and determined the location to be 5700 South Lakeshore Drive, a mile away from the site where prosecutors say Williams committed the murder. According to a motion filed by Williams' public defender, the company's algorithms... Wait, is this being handled by a private company? Algorithms initially classified the sound as fireworks. That weekend had seen widespread protests in Chicago in response to George Floyd's murder, and some of those protesting lit fireworks. But after the 11:46 p.m. alert came in, a ShotSpotter analyst manually overrode the algorithm and reclassified the sound as a gunshot. Then months later, after post-processing, another ShotSpotter analyst changed the alert's coordination to the location... Coordination to a location on South Stony Island Drive near where Williams' car was seen on camera. So they could alter the location and types of alerts on these ShotSpotter AI software. Yeah, it's right here. Reclassify. Yeah, it's right here. They're literally trying to pin this, or at least trying to manufacture evidence against somebody. That's unbelievably gross. Through this human-involved method, the ShotSpotter output in this case was dramatically transformed from data that did not support criminal charges of any kind to data that now forms the centerpiece of the prosecution's murder case against Mr. Williams. Yeah, so they're trying to they're trying to fabricate a murder. This is some holy yikes. This is borderline Minority Report. The document is what's well known as a Fry motion, a request for a judge to examine and rule on whether a particular forensic method is scientifically valid to be entered as evidence, rather than defend ShotSpotter's technology and its employees' actions in a Fry hearing. For Fry hearing, the prosecutors withdrew all ShotSpotter evidence against Williams. Yeah. Good on that public defender for catching that. That case isn't an anomaly, and the pattern it represents could have huge ramifications for ShotSpotter in Chicago, where the technology generates an average of 21,000 alerts each year. The technology is also currently used in more than 100 cities. While the board's review for the court documents from Williams' case and others' trials in Chicago and New York State suggests that companies' analysts frequently modify alerts at the request of police departments, some which appear to be grasping for evidence that supports the narrative of events. Interesting. Now, why is it okay for police departments to request a modification of alerts like that. Untested evidence. Had the Cook County State Attorney's Office not withdrawn the evidence in the Williams case, it would likely have become the first time an Illinois court would formally examine the science and source code behind ShotSpotter. Jonathan Maines, an attorney at the MacArthur Justice Center, told Motherboard, rather than defend the evidence, prosecutors just ran away from it. Right now, nobody outside the ShotSpotter has ever been able to look under the hood and audit this technology. We wouldn't let forensic crime labs use DNA tests that hadn't been vetted and audited. Yeah, that's a huge red flag. Sam Klepper, a senior vice president for marketing and product strategy at ShotSpotter, told Motherboard that in an email that the company had no reason to believe the prosecution's defense reflects a lack of faith in its technology. No, that was never the issue. The issue wasn't the lack of faith in the technology. The issue is you're being asked to modify or essentially manufacture evidence for your case. ShotSpotter evidence and employee testimony has been admitted into 190 court cases. He wrote, whether ShotSpotter evidence is relevant to a case is a matter left to discretion of a prosecutor and counsel for a defendant. ShotSpotter has no reason to believe that these decisions are based on a judgment about the ShotSpotter technology. Yeah, it never was about whether or not the technology works. The Chicago Police Department, Cook's County State's Attorney Office, Mayor Lori Lightfoot's office, Alderman Chris Taliaferro, who chairs the City Council's Public Safety Committee, did not respond to interview requests or questions. In 2016, Rochester, New York, police looking for a suspicious vehicle stopped the wrong car and shot the passenger, Sylvan Simons, in the back 3 times and charged him with firing first at the officers. The only evidence against Simmons came from the ShotSpotter. Initially, the company's sensor didn't detect any gunshots, and the algorithm ruled that the shots came from helicopter rotors. After Rochester police contacted ShotSpotter, an analyst ruled that there had been 4 gunshots, the number of times police fired at Simmons, missing once. Interesting. And the other person, the head of this technology, saying that this is absolutely no verdict on the actual technology itself. So the technology itself must work. Makes you wonder. I'm used to the internet's archive. The video player on the internet archive is absolutely terrible. I rarely use that archives unless I'm looking at like articles. Paul Green, the ShotSpotter's expert witness employee of the company, testified at Simmons' trial that subsequently he was asked by Rochester Police Department to essentially search and see if there was more shots than fired than the ShotSpotter picked up. According to a civil lawsuit Simmons has filed against the city and the company, Green found a 5th shot despite there being no physical evidence left at the scene that Simmons had fired. Rochester police had also refused his multiple attempts requests for them to test his hands and clothes for gunshot residue. Interesting. So if there's evidence of that, then why didn't you test for it? It should be the most easiest thing in the world. Easy. I want to build a good player for it, but I don't know where to start. Unfortunately, I have like not the chops for it. I would maybe I don't know, but I don't even know how I would even go about that. Maybe some of you folks who are a little bit more savvy can get together and figure it out. Curiously, the ShotSpotter audio files that were the only evidence of the Phantom Fist shot have disappeared. Curious. Both the company and the Rochester Police Department lost, deleted, and or destroyed. Amazing. The spool or any other information containing sounds pertaining to the officer-involved shooting, according to Simmons' civil suit. You acknowledge the plaintiff's criminal trial, the employees, ShotSpotter, and law enforcement customers with an audio editor can alter any audio file that has not been locked or encrypted. A jury ultimately acquitted Simmons of attempted murder, and a judge overturned his conviction for possession of a gun, citing ShotSpotter's unreliability. Well, the ShotSpotter isn't unreliable. The problem is that they're being asked to manipulate and manufacture stuff out of thin air. Green, who has testified as a government witness in dozens of criminal trials, was involved in another altered report in Chicago in 2018 when Ernesto Godinez, then 27, was charged with shooting a federal agent in the city. The evidence against him included a report from ShotSpotter stating that 7 shots had been fired at the scene, including 5 from the vicinity of a doorway, where video surveillance showed Godinez to be standing and near where the shell casings were later found. The video surveillance did not show any muzzle flashes from the doorway, and the shell casings could not be matched to the bullets that hit the agent. Wait, did they? Jesus Christ. In the trial, Green testified under cross-examination that the initial ShotSpotter alert only indicated 2 gunshots, those fired by an officer in response to the original shooting. But after the Chicago police contacted ShotSpotter, Green reanalyzed the audio files. After an hour or so, the incident occurred, we were contacted by Chicago PD and asked to search for additional audio clips, and this did not happen on this does happen on a semi-regular basis with all our customers. He later ruled that there was 5 additional gunshots that the company's algorithm did not pick up. Green also acknowledged at the trial that we freely admit that anything and everything in the environment can affect location and detection accuracy. ShotSpotter analysts agree with the machine's classification over 90% of the time, and in a tiny number of cases, our customers request us to perform a location analysis to validate the accuracy of the location. If we find an error, we provide a more accurate location to the customer to assist investigation. Yeah, if we're at this point, I don't think we can successfully admit evidence like this into any type of trial. The fact that this even exists is unbelievable to me. Alright folks, we're almost there. The woods were fond of snowmobiles and baying hounds. A group of dozens of hunters had gathered to give chase to big game along a frozen creek in northeastern Wisconsin. Hound hunting, chiefly for black bear and coyote, is a popular pastime in this part of the state. But the houndsman who emerged from the hemlock into a snowy road around twilight held a different kind of trophy. Flanked by half a dozen of his buddies, clad in ball caps and snow boots, the man hugged an enormous gray wolf to his chest, its head lolling against one shoulder, its tail nearly touching the ground. This is sad. This is really sad. The scene, captured on video by an environmental group known as Wolf Patrol, occurred on the opening day of last winter's wolf hunting season, the first since gray wolf was removed from the endangered species list by the Trump administration last fall. Thanks. I'd like to also point out, as Darknet mentioned, that Biden does have the option of putting this back. While wolf hunting is also legal in Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, and Wisconsin is the only state that allows the controversial use of tracking dogs. A practice Wolf Patrol, which has made a habit of following Wisconsin houndsmen through the woods for years, hope to call to attention by posting this video on YouTube. As it happened, the hunt earned far more attention than either houndsmen or their nemesis have anticipated. State regulators set a quota of 119 wolves out of an estimated statewide population of 1,000, which that's not really a lot, but okay. But they issued an unusual high amounts of permits, 1,548 of them. Wait, so why would you, if you know that there's X amount, and you know that you're only supposed to limit X amount, why would you hand out 1,548 of them and allowed hunters to participate, hound hunters to participate on the first day rather than require them to wait on until the far less efficient rifle hunters and trappers have taken their share? The result was astounding. Just after 2.5 days, hunters were already approaching the limit. Before regulators could shut down the hunt, 216 wolves had been killed, an overshoot of the quota by 83%. Yeah, unacceptable. Biden and Deb Hadlin have the power to put wolves back on the endangered species list, correct? And they have chosen not to. And also, just to be clear, the reason why this is important is because wolves are a keystone species, if I'm correct. You can't just do this in this manner. And second of all, it's quite gruesome, to be honest. The unprecedented media coverage and public outcry that followed not only called into question the state's ability to properly regulate its wolf population, it's also drawn attention to practice of hounding, a traditional method of hunting celebrated by an insular subculture in the North Great Lakes region, and has ultimately become high-tech and far more deadly. Right, yeah, legalized dogfighting, which is like, I assume it's incredibly gruesome. In 2012, when hounding was not allowed at all, it took trappers and rifle hunters over 2 months to kill just 117 wolves. This time around, houndsmen killed that many in a little over a day. It is an abomination. Following the aftermath, which made headlines worldwide, one anonymous Department of Natural Resource employee called the hunt a fucking abomination. Rick Coronado, the 55-year-old founder of Wolf Patrol, has emerged as something of a local nemesis for the Wisconsin houndsman. With a short graying hair and a trim frame, the charismatic Yaqui Indian and longtime animal rights activist exudes a kind of quiet confidence. In the 1990s, however, Coronado spent several years in prison for his part in sabotage of an animal research facility in Michigan State, one of a number of episodes that made him a notorious figure on the fringes of the environmental movement. He eschews violence now, but following armed hunters with a video camera has led to the occasional confrontation, not to mention the risk of being fined or arrested, as the Wisconsin law prohibits the interference with lawful hunting, which is pretty cringe. Coronado was ready with his camera the morning February hunt began, with a map on the seat of his SUV and a scanner trolling for radio traffic. He drove the snowy back roads looking for pickups with the telltale dog boxes in the rear. Not long after, he and his crew found a pair of trucks near a tailhead in the Otter Creek State Recreational Area. Hounds had already been released, and the dogs are typically fitted with GPS tracking devices on their collars. The hunters were following along on their smartphones. Jesus Christ. We could hear them on the radio coordinating with others. Coronado said hunters can only use 6 dogs at a time by law, but fresh dogs can be substituted as they tire, all but ensuring that a wolf can never outrun its pursuers. Dude, that's so messed up. That's so messed up. Heck yeah. Gross. When the dog's movement suggested they were locked onto the dog's quarry, the hunters headed into the backcountry with snowmobiles, with Coronado following along on his radio, as breathless reports came in from the chase. At one point, the dog seemed to be fighting with the wolf. Jesus Christ. You could hear the rifle shots in the distance, and estimated at least a dozen men were involved in, and an equal number of dogs, although there was likely only one wolf permit between them. One wolf permit? There's no limit to the number of helpers a permit holder can employ, which means that once a wolf has been run to exhaustion, it might be facing as many as 10 rifle-toting men at one time. Jesus Christ, vying to get the shot that brings it down. Like all states, Wisconsin hunting regulations nod to ethical concerns and fair chase, the notion that out of respect for the game, a hunter should eschew advantages that make killing its prey too easy. You cannot use a spotlight to hunt deer, for example, or track them with drones. This is true even for animals that are usually not eaten like wolves or coyote and instead are only valued as trophies. That's like... That's wild to me. Like, dude, you're not even like... It's one thing if you're like trying to keep like... I don't know... invasive species at bay, or something like that, but this is only trophy hunting. This is only trophy hunting. This is for the thrill. Like, this is like almost psychopathic. Jesus Christ. Yeah, let's give some likes to these folks. Let's give some likes and get some signal boosting. Comments are turned off. I can only imagine why. Yeah, who killed just for fun? True. What the heck ad is this? What? What? Please, somebody. Explain. My algorithm must be on something. I have videos of confrontations with hunters which are pretty hilarious. Trying to give him as much likes here. Yeah, I know. That's so weird. Why is YouTube allowing that? I have a feeling because I tried to like not I try not to give YouTube as much information. They give me the most random ads in hopes that I'll click on something so that they can zero in on what exactly I like. So they've thrown every type of like different random advertising that they have. It is the most bizarre. It is the most bizarre. I mean, like, if you have a dating website, that's fine. But making your, like, making a website for dating and then saying, they don't care about the age difference. Yeah, that's kind of a problem. That's a problem. Oh my god, no, I can't show this. Jesus. I can't watch this. Yeah, they really... Jesus, like, all of them are, like, completely ratioed. All of them. Look at this. I wonder why. I mean, like, you must be some type of, like, there must be some type of psychopathic, like, element to you wanting, like, the thrill of, like, hunting an animal for fun, right? Like, not even subsistence hunting where you eat it, or where you're trying to, like, clear out invasive species that are taking over and destroying the ecology, but just the thrill of a trophy hunt is... is beyond gross. Hounding pushes the limits of fair chase. It's not a sport, it's just killing, right? It's not like there's no benefit to this, and furthermore, you're like disrupting a very important species to the ecosystem. It's not the only one who thinks so. Wolf Patrol's videos on coyote hunting, many of them ripped. Jesus Christ. Oh, okay. Whew. Ooh, many of them ripped from the straight from the hunters' Facebook pages have caused outrage on social media, even among Wisconsin hunters. Yeah, I bet. Trailing hounds sometimes kill coyotes, which are much smaller than the wolves, before their handlers can reach them. In fact, before they got wise to Coronado's tactics, hunters would occasionally post videos of their dogs attacking exhausted and cowering coyotes, even though by law, the hounds can only be used to track, not kill the wildlife. This is so sad. This is so sad. The gruesome scenes inspired many adjectives in the comments, but sporting was not among them. Yeah, because it's not sporting. Men have been using dogs to kill wolves for almost as long as dogs have been dogs. One of the first uses humans found for them was protecting livestock from their wild cousins, in effect turning the species against itself. Humanity's most beloved animal and its most reviled were essentially the same creature, but the wolf's threat to the shepherd's livelihood irrevocably damaged the wolf's reputation. Later, enormous dogs with long legs and powerful jaws, known as wolfhounds, were bred for the purpose of hunting wolves for sport. Gross. In Wisconsin, state-sanctioned hounding of wolves, often for bounties, was common until the 1930s. By the 1950s, Wisconsin was rendered extinct, as they were everywhere in the country except for Alaska and a remotely largely inaccessible corner of the northeastern Minnesota. It was that remnant population protected by the passage of the Endangered Species Act that eventually recovered enough to spread and repopulate North Wisconsin and Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Now, decades after the wolf's return, the dogs are back too, but this time things are different. Bred for the remarkable tracking ability of the hounds, mostly Walker Plot and Blue Tick breeds, weighing about 45 to 80 pounds, are largely the same as they've always been. It's everything else that has changed. Today's, that's actually not true. Wolves were never extinct in Wisconsin. Oh, interesting. Maybe they were so low in numbers that they couldn't even, like, keep track of them? I don't know. Today's tracking devices allow dogs owners to follow their progress from miles away through apps on their smartphone. The hunt typically starts with the houndsman driving their dogs around in pickups fitted with dog boxes in the bed until they see a single set of wolf tracks on the snow crossing the road. Most hunters won't set their dogs on an entire pack, which might be more likely to stand and fight rather than run. Once the tracks are located, a hunter... What a bunch of cowards. What a bunch of cowards. Once the tracks are located, a hunter sets his best dog on the wolf's scent trail, and the rest of the hounds follow like the heat-seeking missiles while the hunter awaits in the warmth of his truck until the dogs zero in on a target. This is not the Norman Rockwell painting of the guy and his bird dog. Yeah. We believe the wolf is on the side of the wolf is the Ojibwe tribe. We believe the wolf is our brother, and what happens to the wolf happens to us, said Meek Isham, a member of the La Court Aurelius Band, a longtime wildlife official of the tribe. The mismanaged hunt has strained relations between the Ojibwe and the state. The Department of Natural Resources has allocated 81 wolf permits or tags by the tribe in accordance with the treaty governing hunting and fishing on land ceded by the tribe's various bands in the 19th century. As they have in the past, Ojibwe claimed them but opted to leave them unfilled. We believe the proper number of hunting permits is 0. I agree. The tribe's jester was running meaningless when non-native hunters exceeded their targets so egregiously. There was anger and resentment in Isham, but also a sense of unfairness because the tribe's own annual harvest of wildlife is carefully monitored, the product of extensive litigation going back to the 80s. Wisconsin sportsmen have long complained about the Ojibwa's treaty-protected practice of using so-called high-efficacy subsistence fishing methods, such as netting and spearing pike in Wisconsin lakes. Like, I'm sorry, my dude. Like, you can't do this. Ojibwe. Hey, Alpha Pog form. Ojibwe. Ojibwe. Isham sees a double standard at work. They killed 200 wolves in days. Not season, days. That to me is a high efficiency method. We're expected to be perfect. If we go over by a few fish, it's news. Yeah. But the state system has never been put on trial. Not only that, it's like criminal to the hunting dogs too. Because, well, they can get fucked up too. As we see here. Pressure on Wisconsin regulators to issue as many wolf permits as possible came from a number of interested parties, including farmers and ranchers who lose stock to wolves every year. But houndsmen, led by the Wisconsin Bear Hunting Association, have been arguably the most vocal. Some of the animus is undoubtedly personal. Black bear is the most common quarry for trailing hounds, and the bear hunting areas are often prime wolf habitat. As a result, houndsmen have lost dogs to wolves during bear hunting season. A. Why are you hunting bears? B. Are you putting dogs through this? Why are you putting the dogs through this? The number of livestock killed by wolves is very low. It's a BS excuse. Yeah. Hey Heat, how's it going? I'm glad you joined us today. Why not celebrate all week? Birthday week. I wish I could. I'll be back to work normal tomorrow. So it's just part 3. All good things must come to an end. Yeah, poor bears, poor dogs that are being forced to do this, and poor wolves. The state compensates hunters, what? Up to $2,500 for each dog, but the association argues that increasing hound losses demonstrate a compelling need for wolf season. No. That's not... That's... What? You're losing hounds because A, you're using them to hunt wolves, B, you're using them to hunt bears in wolf country. That's you. That's not the wolf's fault. That's you. Adrian Trevis, a professor of environmental studies at the University of Wisconsin-Madison who has studied wolf-hound conflicts, found that neighboring Michigan, which has stricter hounding regulations, has seen far fewer dogs injured or killed by wolves. Lighter regulation in Wisconsin means more dogs in the woods, which leads to more conflict. Houndsmen prefer to hunt in a place that lets them do what they want to do. I bet. No underscore face. How's it going? Conservation for hunting is iffy. Stuff like that really makes it clear that hunters do not care about conservation at all. True. Oh, I see, okay. Like a lot of the funding comes from that, which is good, but then there's stuff like this. Yep. Howdy. There's no way to know how many dogs were killed or injured in the February wolf hunt since there's no requirement to report such incidents, but the Department of Natural Resources reports on the hunt noted that bite marks were often observed on one of the wolf carcasses examined by game officials. As Travis pointed out, common sense dictates that using hounds to take over 200 wolves inevitably means dogs and wolves fighting one another. Of course. The Wisconsin Humane Society has called such hunts state-sanctioned animal fighting. Yeah, basically. Yeah, true. Carl Chattel, the president of Wisconsin Bear Hunters Association, declined to be interviewed by The Guardian. We support management of wolves and support the law that allows us to do so. Yeah. You should initiate a greater effort to get comments from citizens that are negatively impacted by the amount of wolves in Wisconsin. Press X to doubt. Yeah, sometimes it works out like that, often, sometimes. Chattel was referring to in part by dairy farmers like Ryan Klessendorf of the Medford told DNR officials at a hearing that he often saw wolves stalking the edge of his farm as he worked, looking for easy prey. Well, how many did they actually grab? Stands to be like those two are not necessarily the same thing. Oh, I see what you mean, Dark. That makes sense. Undercutting Kuznetsov's testimony is the fact that livestock losses have been consistently low in recent years. In 2018, Wisconsin farmers and ranchers lost a total of 33 cattle out of 103.3 million statewide. No human has been attacked by wolves in the state's modern history. The Wisconsin deer herd, meanwhile, has been above management goals in recent years, suggesting that wolves are not impinging on the state's reputation as a deer hunter paradise. Recent research in Yellowstone, in fact, shown that predation by wolves may help limit the spread of chronic wasting disease, a fatal illness that is epidemic in Wisconsin's deer herd. Yeah, it turns out that wolves are important. They're like a keystone species, I'm sure. Shoto alluded to an idea that's become something of a mantra among wolf hunters, which is the relative abundance of wolves in the state's northern regions represent a wildlife management failure. The state has set a goal of maintaining a minimum of 350 wolves to avoid a return to federal regulation, a number that has been far exceeded over the last decade. Wolf hunting, from this perspective, is seen as a necessary form of population control. But that figure was established over 20 years ago, before anyone had any real idea of how many wolves the state could host, said Ralph Henry, an attorney for the Humane Society, who has worked on landmark wolf litigation. In any case, Henry noted it was intended as a minimum, not a ceiling, above which wolf numbers needed to be immediately and drastically reduced. By 2012, when hunting and trapping briefly became legal, the state's population had reached 815. The wolf season, held in 2012 and 2013, caused the population to dip to 660, but conversely, the lack of a hunting season after 2013 did not cause the wolf population to spiral out of control. It has held steadily at roughly 900 to 1,000 wolves for the last 5 years. The same phenomenon has been observed in Yellowstone National Park, where hunting has never been allowed. After wolves were reintroduced in the mid-1990s, the population expanded only until elk numbers began to decline. Then both predator and prey numbers stabilized, in each case at levels that likely varied from little to the end of the Ice Age until the time that the first fur trappers reached western Wyoming, when the rapid decline of wolves caused elk numbers to skyrocket. Excess wolves migrate to new habitats, but once all the surrounding suitable habitat has been occupied, it is largely the case in Wisconsin, wolves stop spreading. It makes sense. In essence, it seems that the wolf population is self-regulating. So why hunt wolves? After decades of rancorous debate, wildlife officials have learned that wolf management is less about finding a balance between predator and prey than it is about how many predators people who live and work in habitat will tolerate. This means it's less of a question of science than it is of politics, placing wolves in the middle of a culture war that has been gone on for decades. Yeah. This is crazy. This entire story is really, really horrifying. And at the end, as this article states, the reality is people hunt wolves because they want to hunt wolves, and it is up to the bodies of the Wisconsin legislature to decide what is an ethically acceptable way to do so and what is not. Not only that, the federal government also has an ability to kind of put a stop to that. Near the end of Rod Carano's video from the Wisconsin Hunt, a group of 9 houndsmen gathered around their trophy in the falling light for a photo. Good job, boys. Yeah, that was fun. That was real fun. Yeah, good job. I hope you feel proud of yourselves. I hope you feel big. I hope you feel big. Yeah, it is gross. Wisconsin is hopeless. See, gerrymanders is nothing we can do. I think we need the federal government to do something. In which case, I think what you said earlier, to put the wolf back on like endangered species list or prohibit wolf hunting, period. Capture and killing migratory birds. Yep, that's right. Memmius. Unbelievably gross. Also weaken regulations on pesticides to use in national wildlife refuges. True. Water levels at Great Salt Lake dropped to historic lows. Salt Lake City, the water levels at the Great Salt Lake have hit a historic low, a grim milestone for the largest natural lake west of the Mississippi River that comes as a mega drought grips the region. On Saturday, USGS announced an average daily water levels have dropped an inch below the previous record of 4,191 feet, which was set in 1963. The new record comes months earlier than when the lake typically hits its lowest level of the year, indicating water levels could continue to drop even further, said Candace Heisenjager, Deputy Director of Utah's Division of Water Resources. Eagles are not a fan of him. Receding water levels are already affecting a nesting spot for pelicans, which are among the millions of birds dependent on the lake. Sailboats have been hoisted out of the water to keep them from getting stuck in the mud. More dry lake bed getting exposed could send arsenic-laced dust into the air that millions breathe. Yeah, interesting. People for years have been diverted water from rivers that flow into the lake to water crops and supply homes. Because the lake is shallow, about 35 feet, at its deepest point, less water quickly translates to receding shorelines. Most years, the Great Salt Lake gains up to 2 feet from spring runoff. This year, it was just 6 inches. He also discontinued a National Park Service policy discouraging the sale of plastic waters in parks. Yikes. The drought is drying up lakes across the West and worsening massive wildfires affecting California and Oregon. Utah Governor Spencer Cox, a Republican, has begged people to cut back on lawn watering and pray for rain. And pray for rain. This is delusional. This is delusional. Climate change doesn't care. Okay? You can pray all you want. Climate change, the science, doesn't care. It is real. It is here. And we need to do something about it. Extreme conditions like these are often from a combination of unusual, random, short-term natural weather patterns heightened by long-term human-caused climate change. Yeah. Which I would argue these unusual weather patterns are going to start becoming the norm. Scientists have long warned that weather will get wilder as the world warms up, and climate change has made the West much warmer and drier in the past 30 years. Yeah. I mean, I believe this picture speaks for itself. I believe this picture speaks for itself. Super dry everywhere up north, where it's supposed to be lush and has short growing season. It's a drought. Yeah, it's definitely a problem. It's definitely a problem. Because this isn't like at this point, like we can safely say that we know that it's contributed by climate change, and like the reality is that if things continue, this will just be the new norm, and like. We can't grow crops like this. There's a lot of people who depend on water, who will not be able to get access to water like this. I mean, you know, it stands to reason that we should address this, you know? I thought North Dakota looked like New Mexico. A lot of places are looking not so good. They're looking like barren wastelands instead of what they normally look like. Alright folks, unfortunately that is all the time I have today. It is just over 12, but we did go through everything. I enjoyed all of you guys hanging out here. Thank you so much for spending time these last couple of days. It's been pretty awesome. I appreciate all of you guys' support. Thank you. This show, it doesn't happen, you know, without you guys, and I appreciate all your support. If you guys enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow. Don't forget to do the YouTubes, the social medias, join the Discords, do all that awesome stuff. Yeah, sure, we'll raid. That's not a problem. I've actually never seen no comment check, but we'll raid them. I've never. Is there like a small streamer? Thank goodness to all the people who hate welfare are gonna get aid from the government anyways. Hey, Heat, thank you for the 10 biddies. You super based? Alright, well, let's head on over there. Show some love and respect. Okay, let's do it. Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate it. We got another 10 biddies. I appreciate it. Alright, folks. Thank you guys so much. You guys are what makes this show grow. I appreciate all your support. As always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I hope you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. See ya. Alright, let's see. Hang tight, folks. Happy birthday week. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Heat. I appreciate it. Another 10 biddies. Thank you. Ooh. On fire today. Alright, hang tight with us, folks. No comment. Alright. Alright, so let's show some love. Please show some love and respect, as always. Thank you guys. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Have a good day. You have a good day. See ya.